The Oaklawn Handicap, the start of the Racing Festival of the South, is next on ESPN. Framed by the Ouachita Mountains. There you see in the background the city of Hot Springs. We pull back through the trees to Oaklawn Park, where today they began their most famous week of racing. It's the Racing Festival of the South. A big crowd has turned out under beautiful sunny skies here in Hot Springs, Arkansas. And we welcome you to the beautiful area here in the walking ring paddock area where they'll be saddling the horses for the Oaklawn Handicap. And hello again, everyone. I'm Chris Lincoln. Welcome back to Oaklawn Park, where it all began for our series back in 1985, and where the 1990 Racing Festival of the South gets underway with our live coverage today of the Oaklawn Handicap. And what a special week of racing it is. There will be 8 stakes events worth more than $1.8 million over the next week, and truly the greatest week of racing in North America. Let's give you a bit of a preview now of some of the champions to be on display here at Oaklawn. Starting on Wednesday, the Apple Blossom Handicap marks the return of the Eclipse Award-winning champion, Bayakoa. She won this event last year in wire-to-wire fashion by 4 lengths. She'll be challenged by the classy mare Gorgeous, Robert Clay's daughter of Slew of Gold, here romping the La Cañada Stakes at Santa Anita, winning by 5 lengths earlier this year. Another lady in the spotlight this week will be in Friday's Fantasy Stakes for 3-year-old fillies. The big filly from the D-Wayne Lucas barn, Held Atlantis, is here to challenge Classy Irene, the undefeated filly here at Oaklawn, owned by Cal Partee. Others expected Sunny Blossom in the Count Fleet Sprint. Stella Madrid will make her season debut. And then the big race next Saturday, Oaklawn's premier 3-year-old event. It's the Arkansas Derby. We'll be here to bring it to you live on ESPN, 5 to 6 o'clock, same time, same station, same racetrack. This festival has really been outstanding. In fact, over the last decade, it's provided 6 Eclipse Award winners and 2 Horse of the Year recipients. Let's take a look at the conditions of racing to start the Racing Festival with the Oaklawn Handicap. The 44th running of this Grade 1 event has a purse of $500,000 guaranteed. The 4-year-olds and up will go 1 1/8 miles on a track listed as fast. We had heavy rains earlier in the morning at Oaklawn. It has cleared off, and now is an absolutely beautiful day here, and the track is fast. Now let's meet our experts, Pete Axum and Tom Durkin. They call them the Exacta Boys after last week's big long shot hit. How about this week?
I know you're all probably expecting us to pick another Budweiser long shot Exacta. Well, it just is not going to happen. We might try for the Bud long shot pick 6, but we really don't have that much ambition today, Pete.
We certainly don't, Tom. In fact, this white stuff you see all over our fashionable polyester, it isn't dandruff. It is chalk. This is a race that looks like it's going to be dominated by the favorites. If you want a hint of what favorite we're thinking of, well, this is country music territory. And when you write a great country song, one thing you need is a great opening verse. And I even have one that applies to horse players all over the world. It was written by Guy Clark, and it's called, I Wish I Had a Dime for Every Hard Time, but the hard times always seem to keep the change.
Oh, I'm very impressed that you know those words. Unfortunately, any lyrics I know, you can't say on television. But we can show you the field for the Oaklawn Handicap. Let's take a look. Number 1 will be Festive. He ran very poorly last time out in New Orleans, but he won 4 races down there, including the graded New Orleans Handicap. Opening verse won the Razorback here with Pat Day. He's at Keeneland this afternoon to ride Summer Squall, and Chris McCarron rides opening verse. No More Hard Times, a long shot by way of Remington Park. Primal, a Grade 1 winner in Florida this year. He won the Don at Gulfstream Park. He was second here in the 1988 Arkansas Derby. Tour d'Or, the 8-year-old senior member of the field, is looking for his 18th career win. Criminal Type earned almost $600,000 at Santa Anita this winter. Pinkai is aboard, the morning line favorite. Silver Survivor and DeRoche are both locally owned horses, and I'm sure there's going to be a few Razorbacks in the grandstand rooting for them this afternoon. Pete, this is a handicap race, but weight really doesn't seem to be much a factor this afternoon.
No, you know, Tom, I think many of us oldsters yearn for the days when old geldings like Kelso and Forgo would bravely carry the hot dog stand against horses carrying feathers, and they would still win handicap racing. But the whole specter of the sport has changed. Now we don't have that emphasis on handicap racing. So today, well, we have a highly competitive field, but nobody's carrying a hot dog stand. They're carrying the mustard tray.
Indeed, especially this time of the year. If a horse were to win in the springtime with 128 pounds, what does he carry in October? Anyway, we've settled the weight problem. There's a few more to contend with this afternoon, such as strategy, pace, and class. Chris?
Thank you, Tom. Our host is always at Oaklawn Park, Mr. Charles J. Sella, the president, part of the 4th generation of his famous racing family. We talked to him about some of the reasons of the revitalization of his Oaklawn Park in 1990.
The Arkansas State Legislature gave us some relief last year, put us on equal grounds to other racetracks, and allowed us to make some necessary improvements. And we've made enormous headway in this area for capital improvements. We call it the Gucci look. And we painted the entire grandstand interior and exterior.
Some outstanding facilities people are used to seeing. They've gotten a new look, too.
Well, you know, we go back to 1904. It's kind of like putting a new dress on an old gal.
And I think the Oyster Bar is a new look, and one of the favorite places, certainly for Mr. Faulkner, is a special place for him here.
JB is a character, and of course known all over the country for his racing, thoroughbred racing abilities, and we named a bar after him.
And let's talk about what everybody's been talking about here, the carousel room.
You know, we're not that smart. We're just lucky, but we hit a home run with this, and it's been sold out since day one. It is, of course, decorated with carousel horses. They date back to 1900. They're all hand-carved, wooden, and the public has just loved them. And by the way, I like them, too.
They've enjoyed the Winning Colors gift shop, and really is a new look and a great spirit here at Oaklawn. It's been a great season for you.
We're really thrilled. Sunday racing has been a big help to us, but you know, it comes right down to one thing, and that's quality racing. And a lot of people refer to us as the Saratoga of the South, and I like that.
And the people of Arkansas and surrounding states certainly like Oaklawn Park. More than 33,500 have turned out today. They'll bet more than $3 million. It's Oaklawn Handicap Day at Oaklawn Park in Hot Springs. We're back in Arkansas. We're just after noon today. This Gulfstream 4 of Alan E. Paulson, chairman, CEO, and founder of Gulfstream Aerospace Corporation, arrived from Palm Springs, California for a perfect touchdown. This is the same Gulfstream 4 that Paulson and the crew used to set a world speed record in 1988 as they circumnavigated the Earth in just over 36 hours. The 67-year-old Paulson has come to Hot Springs to watch his stable star opening verse in today's Oaklawn Handicap. We'd like you to meet this dynamic business leader now who's become a major force in thoroughbred racing. Alan Paulson has been involved in aviation his entire life, from flight engineer, test pilot, commercial airline pilot, to the formation in the 1950s of Gulfstream Aerospace, the company that builds what are recognized as the fastest, longest-range corporate jets in the sky. It was in the early 1980s that Paulson committed to thoroughbred racing on an international scale. His quality standards in business can also be seen at his Brookside Farms in Versailles, Kentucky, where he stands 7 stallions, and his private training center in Bonsall, California. Well, quality has certainly marked Alan Paulson, both as a corporate man and as a thoroughbred man now. Mr. Paulson, let's talk about your thoroughbred program, what plans you have for this new decade in the 90s.
Well, I got a lot of good sires in our Kentucky operation. The latest one started his career in the U.S. here at Oaklawn last year, and that's Blushing John. And we have 120 mares that were in foal that are at our farm in Kentucky, and we're breeding 150 this year, so we got the machine working.
Well, you get into it in a big way. Blushing John, Estropont, Theatrical, all champions. But I know you're looking towards really promoting your 3-year-old program, or more of the classic horses for next year.
All right, we have a lot of 2-year-olds in training, and a lot of them are homebreds, and they're just doing great. So we're hopeful. In the last few years, I've been sending my 2-year-olds, a big part of them, over to Europe, and I've had some champions in Europe with them. But I'm going to go after that Kentucky Derby and hopefully the Triple Crown one day.
Mr. Paulson, thank you very much for what you've done for thoroughbred racing. Good luck. I've got to ask you quickly, how long did it take to fly from California to Hot Springs, Arkansas on that G4?
Well, it took just a little over 2 hours. We were averaging about 600 miles an hour.
Mr. Paulson, I hope opening verse will be just as fast for you today. With that in mind, we're going to find out more about his stable star as we go to the top of the stands here, and Tom Durkin.
Well, Alan Paulson is successful for lots of reasons, and among them is the fact that he is a risk taker. What else would you expect from a man that is a member of the Society of Experimental Test Pilots? And he's risked well over $100 million in thoroughbred racing over the last decade. and he's also pretty smart. He acquires and develops horses from Europe. When raced here in the United States, they frequently go on to do good things, and among them champions Estrapad and Blushing John. And it's a parallel story this afternoon for Opening Verse.
Opening Verse has a little bit more mellow type of personality. Blushing John was a bit more of a handful when we went to the races in the afternoon. It was more important to have him schooled properly, to have him understand what was going on. But he was a tremendous competitor. He very much got on his toes when we got ready to run. This horse is quieter and a little more workmanlike, but I think equally as talented.
Opening Verse was stabled in California with an eye toward the Santa Anita Handicap. But Lundy opted for the Razorback here at Oaklawn to allow his horse to develop the way Blushing John did. After joining the leaders on the turn for home, jockey Pat Day moved Opening Verse into the lead and coaxed him clear without ever uncocking his whip. It was exactly what Lundy had hoped for to prepare for today's test. And the results of the Oaklawn Cap will play a big part in the Minstrel Colt's future plan.
You know, we've established the fact that he can run on the dirt very fast, and he's a very lovely horse. So we'll go probably through the Pimlico Special. I'm looking at this race Saturday real hard. I think it'll be a good meter of where we're at as far as his training and his progress goes. And then we'll map out a plan after that.
And it would appear to be that he has lots of options. He's one going a mile, a quick mile on the dirt at Santa Anita, and he's also a proven performer going 1.25 miles on the grass. He finished second to the English Derby winner Nashwan last year in the Coral Eclipse at Sandown. So the future appears bright and certainly full of all sorts of possibilities. Let's go down to the infield for Pete and a Hall of Famer.
Thank you, Tom. With Lafitte Pinkai, Hall of Fame rider, and he's ridden so many great horses, and many of them for the Wayne Lucas team. And Lafitte, Criminal Type's another of these Alydars that Wayne buys, but unusual in the fact that he only blossomed so late. Usually they come flying out of 2.
That's right. I would say that the last 3 or 4 races he really improved. I rode him before that, and he wasn't the type of horse that he is right now. Now he responds, and he's got speed, and he's a strong horse right now.
Let's take a look at the last 2, Lafitte. It appeared you kept him a little close. You just rode him in the most recent race. It appeared he was a little closer. I'm sure he'll be happy not to have to look at the rear end of Ruhlman today, but did you feel that was a big improvement in his last?
Oh yes. Well, his last time I was trying to keep him close to Ruhlman, who won the race, and he's a very fast horse, and he was doing an easy lead, but he was going very fast, and I kept trying to get close to him as much as I could. And even though, you know, my horse responded at the end, he was trying, he wasn't stopping or anything like that. You know, he was trying to win the race, but I think Ruhlman was just too much that day.
Speaking of too much, Lafitte, you've accomplished so much. I think many of us in racing, we know you have to fight the weight, you have to work so hard to stay as the great rider you are. Does retirement ever enter your mind?
Well, it does sometimes, but I like the game so much, and as long as I keep riding good horses and I keep winning races, why stop?
Well, if you do stop, you want to have one of them victory tours like Shu, I'll take you on it.
Oh, well, yes, you know, if they offer me to do that, I will take it, yes. It'd be nice to do that.
Thank you, Lafitte.
Right.
Back to Chris.
Thank you, Pete. One of the many great Hall of Famers will be here this week, helping Oaklawn celebrate their 1990 Racing Festival of the South, as their Oaklawn Handicap horses are arriving in the paddock. And a look at the fast racing strip here at Oaklawn Park, where you're looking down the backstretch here as the Oaklawn Handicap just a few minutes away, and we'll take a look at the odds from the fans here at Oaklawn. Festive 23-1, Opening Verse. Alan Paulson's is now the favorite at even money. He was second choice on the morning line. No More Hard Times at 18, Primal at 4-1. Then it's Tourdor at 17, Criminal Type at 2-1, the second choice, Silver Survivor at 10, and DeRoche at 24-1. You know, there seems to be a trend developing in past Oaklawn handicaps. We'd like to show you, help you maybe handicap this race as we take a look back at an Oaklawn handicap of the past.
This Claiborne Look Back is brought to you by Claiborne Farm, where for more than a century, a great record reflects our experience.
The last 3 runnings of this Oaklawn handicap have been won by the favorites on the lead. In 1988, it was Lost Code. Cody had the lead going into the first turn. He led the way down the backstretch. And he was still the one to catch at the top of the stretch.
3/16 to go, and Lost Code, who's led every step of the way, has the lead. Here comes Gulch, here comes Crypto Clearance, and down the stretch they come. Lost Code draws away from him. He's in front by 2, but here comes Crypto Clearance, trying to close the gap in the desperate final stride. It's Lost Code holding on.
And so Lost Code joined track record setter Snow Chief of 1987 and last year's winner, Slew City Slew, who all were on the lead and favorites in the race. Let's go now to Pete Axel.
Thank you, Chris. Those of us who were fortunate enough to spend the entire winter at Gulfstream Park have watched a sensational riding performance by Early Fires, who is by far the leading rider there. And Early with Primal, what is his shot today, and will he lay a little closer to the pace than last time?
Well, I don't know if he'll be any closer. There's a few horses from California probably show a little more lick, but he's pretty reversible. You can put him up close or back, so he's a pretty easy horse to ride. Just however the race falls in, he'll run good.
Ed Pope of the Miami Herald did I thought, a very astute column commenting that you have been typecast over several decades as a whoop-de-doo front-running rider, and you don't get mounts in races like the Derby that you probably deserve. Your reaction to that?
Well, they can kind of name me any way they want to, but I've ridden horses come from behind or anywhere, but people can say whatever they like, but I've had a good career and I can't complain, so let them say what they like, but I like to win the Derby, and that might be the only thing that's hurting me.
Well, I'm not even going to ask a question now. I'm going to give you some advice. At the rail this winter at Gulfstream, that was the place to be. It's not today, Early. Stay off it.
Yeah, I'll stay off the fence. It's a little bit deep. I rode here the other day with him, and he run a good race, and I know you had to stay a little wide, so I know that's coming up to that.
Well, I hope you do end up with that Derby mount or one of those big mounts before the career's over. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you a lot, Pete.
Back to you, Chris.
As you take a look at our favorite right now, the 2-horse Opening Verse. Early Fires getting ready to get on Primal. He won his first race back here at Oaklawn Park in 1965, and there's Criminal Type, second choice. Back at Oaklawn, where riders are up and where the administrative chief here, Chick Lang Jr., told me that they're up 12% in handle and attendance in their 1990 meeting at Oaklawn. Let's give you an update on the odds now. Festive at 23-1. Opening Verse now the 6-5 favorite. No More Hard Times at 19. Primal at 4. Then it's Tourdor at 18, Criminal Type at 2, the second choice still, Silver Survivor at 10, DeRoche at 24. They've called her to the post. We want some last-minute observations to the paddock from Pete Axel, and you better listen up. He had the winner last week for us, Pete.
Thank you, Chris. One thought I have before I talk about how the horses look is jockeys are a little smarter than they look. Chris McCarron told me he got in the jocks room, came in from California, and all the jocks said to him, Chris, you better save ground, get down on that rail. As Early Fires told you, the rail is horrible. Chris knows it. All these jocks know it. Look for the field to fan out leaving. One thought about Opening Verse. The same way, when Dick Lundy purchased this horse with Arthur Paulson, or for Arthur Paulson, Steve Cawthon had ridden him at York, and he went, and Steve Cawthon said, I think he will acclimate very well to the U.S. and dirt. As for the way the horses look out for number 8, DeRoche. He's got that racing muscle.
All right, you heard it from the Axe, and now let's introduce you to our post-parade for the 1990 Oaklawn Handicap. This is Festive. 2 major handicaps down at the New Orleans Fairgrounds. The Louisiana Handicap and the New Orleans Handicap runs best up near the pace. Was 6 here at Oaklawn Park, though, and the Essex has not run very well of late. Larry Steiner, veteran rider, always among Oaklawn's top 10, one of the favorites here. The 2-horse is the favorite. Opening Verse came from England, converted to the dirt racing some 3 months ago in California, then won the Razorback here in Oaklawn. They say should be on or near the lead today. Had a bullet workout here Wednesday, 5 furlongs in 59-3. Chris McCarron, in from California, this Hall of Fame rider, winner of more than 5,000 races, his first time on Opening Verse. The 3 horses, No More Hard Times. 5th in his only start this year, was 3rd in the Remington Park Handicap last November. This Oklahoma bred will be ridden today by Pat Steinberg, Remington Park's all-time leading rider. The 4-horse is Primal. He's the richest money earner in the field. Multiple graded stakes winner, won 3 of 4 with a 2nd this year. Winner of the Grade 1 Don Handicap, and was 2nd here in the Razorback to Opening Verse. The rider, you've met him earlier, the veteran Early Fires, ridden nearly 5,000 winners. As we told you, his first winner was right here at Oaklawn Park in 1965. two-door on his own, no pony horse with him, coming off a 5 1/4 length win at Tampa Bay. He's a Virginia bred, winner of almost $500,000. And the rider is Edgar Prado, leading rider at Laurel in their last meeting at Maryland, a native of Peru. The 6th horse, the second choice from the stable of D. Wayne Lucas, Calumet Farm-owned Criminal Type. One of the nation's top handicap horses, multiple graded stakes winner, 3 firsts, 2 seconds, and 5 stakes this year, and a Hall of Famer in the irons, carrying the Calumet colors, Lafitte Pinkai Jr., the richest race rider in history. The 7 horse is Silver Survivor, 3rd in the Razorback, won the Assault Handicap in January at Aqueduct, likes to come off the pace. Silver Survivor, trained by Glenn Hill, ridden today by Donnie Howard, among the leading riders every year here at Oaklawn Park. Rounding out the field, the 8 horse is DeRoche. This is the one Pete said looked really good to him in the paddock, 3rd in the New Orleans Handicap, won an allowance race here in February at Oaklawn. By Arkansas's own Loblolly Stables, the ownership and the breeder. The rider is Sam Maple, former leading rider in Northern California and here at Oaklawn Park. Well, that's the field of 8 for the Oaklawn Handicap. We told you opening verse is the favorite. Criminal Type is second. But we know what you're waiting for is the Budweiser Long Shot. Let's see if we can find another winner for you this week.
Our Budweiser long shot is Silver Survivor, who is named after being misplaced for several days following a sale and surviving on grass clippings and water. Actually, that was only the first big obstacle he's overcome on the way to earning over $200,000 for trainer Glenn Hild. Following his New York campaign this winter, Silver Survivor set out for Oaklawn Park. But he was forced to make a plane connection in Miami and arrived in Hot Springs just 2 days before the Razorback Handicap. He went off at odds of 10 to 1 that day and moved boldly to the leaders at the top of the stretch, but found himself on a very dead rail and couldn't sustain the rally. And since then, he's overcome a temperature that briefly interrupted his training. So it's business as usual for the Gray Colt, and we think he'll be the Silver Survivor once more as the Budweiser Long Shot.
Well, you see Silver Survivor now at 11 to 1. This horse has overcome so much, popped a splint, drove a nail through his hoof, but he's here ready to run today and perhaps be a Budweiser Long Shot winner. We'll be right back.
Their Breeders' Cup Championship moment. Hollywood Park was the stage for jockey Pat Day's brilliant performance in the world's richest race, the $3 million Breeders' Cup Classic. 30 to 1 long shot, Wild Again had the early lead, but in the stretch, Day would have to summon all his skills to hold the lead as the favorites gave challenge to the wire.
Wild Again, Gate Dancer, slow goal in between them, and here's the wire. Wild Again does it.
For Jockey of the Year, Pat Day, this was his Breeders' Cup Championship moment.
While the infield's open here at Oaklawn Park where the sun always shines, it's an absolutely beautiful afternoon here in April in Arkansas. And we're getting set for the race here. We want to take you inside the daily racing form now to talk with our track man, the veteran here, Jack Valentine. We talked with him earlier about, Jack, just what is important in this race as we get ready to watch the Oaklawn Handicap.
The most important factor that's apparent from the past performances of the Oaklawn Cap is the absence of a pace setter. Of the 8 horses in the race, 5 have shown the ability to be on the pace in some of their races in the past. DeRoche had 2 races at Saratoga last year where he was on the, or with the pace, but the internal fractions were extremely slow. Tortior has been with the pace in 2 of his last 3 starts, but he also went in slow fractions. PRIMAL raced close in his past in his career, but appears to be better suited to a late-running style. The other 2, Criminal Type and Opening Verse, have the ability to set the pace in what should be an extremely tactical race where position will probably mean as much as talent. Last season, Criminal Type raced with the pace in the majority of his races, but he usually weakened in the late stages. This year, Wayne Lucas has changed his running style, and he's not been worse than second against the best in California. I don't see Criminal Type changing his style for one race, so that leaves Opening Verse as the logical pace setter. In the Razorback Handicap, Opening Verse broke a bit sluggishly, but recovered and was only 2 lengths off a relatively quick pace. Barring any trouble at the start, Opening Verse should be the pace setter, and the longer Chris McCarron can wait before he asks his horse for the best, the tougher he will be to catch. It's entirely possible that the 1 1/8 Oaklawn could be a quarter-mile sprint to the finish, and that would favor Opening Verse and Criminal Type because of their natural speed.
And as always, we want to recognize the help of the Daily Racing Form and their charts and statistics, America's Turf Authority. Well, now it's time to put our experts on the spot, see who they like in this 44th running of the Oaklawn Handicap. Let's go to the top of the stands first. The man who'll call the handicap for us, Tom Durkin.
Well, Chris, Criminal Type is one of the favorites here, is the son of premier sire Alidar, and like many of the sons of Alidar, he is a big individual. And while many of the Alidars share the same physical attributes, their running styles are varied. Turkoman and Ali Sheba were those one-run come-from-behind horses. Althea, a daughter of Alidar, was a front-runner. She won the Arkansas Derby here, going wire-to-wire. Easy Goer is a horse that has great bursts of speed. He has tremendous acceleration when called upon. Criminal Type is a different type, and for want of a better term, he's kind of a grinder. He's capable of reeling off fast furlongs one after the other, and he wears down the opposition. And he has a perfect partner for that running style today if he's chasing a fast pace, and that is Lafitte Pinkai Jr. But the pace is going to be probably dictated by Chris McCarron to his own liking on opening verse. Let's go back downstairs.
All right, Tom, there you see this private residence is located right adjacent to the 8th pole here at Oaklawn, the home of Mr. Charles J. Sella, the president of Oaklawn Park. There's the starting gate set at the 8th pole for this 1.8 Oaklawn Handicap. Pete Axholm's joined us now. Pete, any final observations or talk about some strategy here before the race?
Well, you know, when you're trying to do sight handicapping, you can get trapped. Just after I said that I think the Roach looks absolutely full of himself, which he does, he also started to break out in a sweat. So I'm a little shaky there. I do think that opening verse is going to control this pace. I think all the riders, you're going to see everybody fan wide, but opening verse is going to get the money here, and I'm hoping DeRoche will be second. And, you know, there's a lesson in opening verse. Dick Lundy worked for Charlie Whittingham, and he saw Charlie turn so many turf horses from Europe into versatile horses that could race on dirt in this country. He learned that lesson, and then he made an unusual deal. Mr. Paulson traded some horses as well as money to get this horse to this country. And, you know, in the cycles of racing, we've seen a year when, so far, Woody Stevens, Leroy Jolly, Shug McGahee, all great trainers, have been struggling because it is a cyclical business. But if you can make innovations and come up with special things and made horses that can do something for you, you can avoid that. I hope he avoids it as he comes to the wire.
Well, Terry Wallace, the voice of Oaklawn, has just called the horses approaching the starting gate. We'll give you the last look at the odds now. Festive at 30-1. Opening verse is even money and the favorite for this 44th running of the handicap. No More Hard Times at 25 and Primal at 5-1. Then it's Tourdor at 23. Criminal Type at 8-5 now. Silver Survivor, that's the Budweiser long shot at 14. DeRoche at 30-1. Pete, Primal, he has really won big. You saw him down in Florida dominate that Big Don Handicap. He looks like a horse that will be a closer here. Is there enough speed in front to help him?
Primal is a very nice horse, and he can close, but he's here mainly because Jimmy Bracken, his extremely astute trainer, didn't think he'd get 1.25 miles. He's by Maudlin, who was a stone sprinter. So he felt, let's come and take some shorter distances, and that's why he's here. I think this might be a little bit far for him, and I think these two horses that are favored in the race may be just a little tough for Primal.
146-3. You saw the stakes and track record by the great Snow Chief, the California Invader. And remember, again, it has been speed and favorites who've won this race the last 3 years. Axe, you're sticking with the chalk this week, huh?
Yes, we're going with the chalk. Primal is hesitating to go in. Maybe he just heard me. Maybe he's mad because you know, Primal has the distinction of being the only horse ever picked as the Bud Longshot 3 times in his career. He never won one of them.
That's why he's not the Bud Longshot today. 3 and you're out. Let's go up now to Tom Durkin.
Well, Primal took some getting into the starting gate, but knowing early fires and with the fact that there really is no real speed horse coming right out of the gate, although opening verse figures to dictate the early pace, don't be surprised if you see early fires try to get the jump on the competition and go to the whip with Primal just a few strides out of the starting gate. He is not unknown to do that kind of tactic. Silver Survivor, the Bud Longshot will go into post position number 7, and on the outside, DeRoche. Of course, Chris McCarron figures to be be in the catbird seat here. The bad going is down on the rail. If he breaks a little, he'll try to take him out to the 3 or 4 path. And they're off, and opening verse was off. A step slow. Festive is going for the lead. Going right to the whip there is Larry Snyder. In between horses, no more hard times is there. Criminal Type is up close on the outside. Tour Door is right there, and opening verse is 5th. Down inside as the field moves into the clubhouse turn. And then it's Primal now, who's up about 4.5 lengths off the lead. Then farther back, the Bud Long Shot. Silver Survivor is now settled in 7th position. And DeRoche is unhurried in 8th as they round the first turn. And it's Festive with a short lead on the outside. No more hard times is right there, and those two are going at it as they enter the backstretch, the opening quarter in 22 3/5 seconds. On the outside, Criminal Type, and down inside him is opening verse, running along in 4th position, about 2.5 lengths off the lead. Tour Door with clear running on the outside, a gap of 2.5. Back to Primal, and down inside it's DeRoche, and Silver Survivor is last. 46 2, a moderate pace here as they move into the far turn. And McCarron has found racing room for opening verse, and he comes bursting through to take the lead now as the field moves into the final turn. And Criminal Type is right there trying to stay with them on the outside. Festive is now 3rd toward the rail. Tour Door is kicking in from the back of the pack. No more hard times is right there on the outside. Then farther back it's Primal. Silver Survivor is launching his bit outside horses, and DeRoche is moving through toward the rail, turning for home. It's opening verse, and DeRoche is sent through an opening toward the inside. McCarron gave him the rail, and they're set down for the drive. Silver Survivor is there. Criminal Type has dropped out of it. They're coming down to the final furlong, and opening verse holding on to the lead. DeRoche attacks from the inside. Silver Survivor is 3rd. They're coming down to the finish, and it's going to be opening verse. Some anxious moments for this one as they moved into the far turn, but Chris McCarron seized the moment as they went into that turn, come bursting through in between horses, and goes on to win it. And extra points for DeRoche, who went through on the deep going this afternoon.
1:47.1 the time. Pete, you have a gift, is that the word?
I have a gift. Let's face it. This horse walked by me, had the look of, well, maybe not eagles, maybe pigeons, but that was enough to get second. The 8, DeRoche comes up. Of course, we all said from the top of the show, we all thought opening verse was a cinch, but DeRoche sure made him work, and I may never work another day.
We're making Pete Axelm rich as you look at Alan Paulson's opening verse, the favorite, winning for the 4th Oaklawn Handicap. The favorite wins it and does it impressively. We're back at Oaklawn Park as you just saw Chris McCarron get off of opening verse, our unofficial winner of this 44th running of the Oaklawn Handicap. Chris flying in from California, as did Mr. Paulson today. For Chris McCarron, his first time on this very talented son of the minstrel. Out of a Grey Dawn, the 2nd mare, Shy Dawn, bred in Kentucky by Jacques Wimpheimer, owned by Alan Paulson, trained by Dick Lundy. His opening verse will now go over the $500,000 mark in earnings as he gets his 7th career victory in his 16th start. Unofficially, finishing 2nd was DeRoche as Pete Axelm was bouncing around, excited about his big exacted payoff again, it looks like today. Silver Survivor, the Bud Long Shot. How about this? With a show bet on Silver Survivor, would have gotten you some money today as Silver Survivor runs 3rd. And Criminal Type, the D. Wayne Lucas trained entry from Calumet Farm, who pushed the pace so strongly, finishes 4th. Let's go up now to Tom Durkin and a closer look at the Oaklawn Handicap.
The sign of a good racehorse is one that can overcome trouble and doesn't have to win his race on his terms. There is highlighted Criminal Type. He's 3rd at this point as they begin their run up the back stretch, and the one that was off slow, opening verse, caught down inside for most of the way. Now Pinkai does what he can to keep opening verse down inside, but as they head for the far turn, opening verse comes muscling through in between horses, and that was the moment of truth as they passed the half-mile pole. Once he got to the lead, Criminal Type could not stay with him, and DeRoche, still last at this point as the field moves into the far turn, continues with a strong run on the inside. Some extra points for that horse, who does very well running against the bias. And there you see McCarron coming to the top of the lane, and at this point the race is pretty much history. He does ask him for a little bit more as DeRoche approaches nearing the top of the stretch. Let's go down to Pete.
Yeah, we're standing by. Thank you, Chris. I'm with Sam Maple, who rode DeRoche coming up here on the inside. I thought he looked wonderful in paddock, Sam, and it appeared like he really gave everything he had.
Well, he did. This horse was real nervous today before I got him out on the track. Once I got him out there, he settled down. Mr. Bohannon wanted me back took him back leaving there, and I knew Festive would be getting out, and I expected him to be close on the lead, so I just waited, hoped the rail opened up, and it did. And this horse came running, like Chris said, pulling up. He said, I thought we was going to have a horse race on our hands, but the other horse just was a little too much for him today. But this is a nice colt. You'll see a lot of him, I think, in the future.
Well, I know many fans, particularly in the locations where you ride in, know that you overcame a serious illness to come back to this. Must be a great feeling to be back at the top like this.
Well, it's a wonderful feeling. You know, just to be healthy after something like that, let alone come back and do what I'm doing, it's a blessing. It really is. God has been faithful to me, and He's blessed me all through my career. But this has He's shown me how faithful He is.
Well, thank you for helping me out today, and thank God for helping me out today, too. It was a great exacta. Thank you, Sam Maple. Back to Chris.
All right, thank you, Pete. On this Easter Eve, Pete Axum has something to be thankful for. A 2/8 exacta returns $60.60. We'll be back to make it official as the winner, Opening Verse, heads back for his reward. Chris McCarron smells the carnations of victory.
Sometimes it seems like a long-playing soap opera interviewing Chris McCarron in winner's circles because he does win so many of these big ones. But today I thought it was an exceptional ride, Chris. It looked like you might have had some trouble getting through. You had two long shots in front of you and Lafitte outside you.
Am I really that boring, a long-playing soap opera? Come on, Pete. Well, as far as the race went, it turned out as well as we could have hoped at the finish, but the start had me a little concerned. You know, he didn't break real sharp, and everybody else was kind of gunning to the first turn. But
we're watching him now. It looks deceptive on this shot. Of course, it looks like he's down on the bad rail, but we also had a head on that shows you're way off the rail at this point.
That's correct. I was on the fence going into the turn, but I eased out. The fence has not been playing real quick here the last week or so, and today nobody was winning on the rail, so my concern was to get him out. And I had a little room between Lafitte and the horse that's laying second there, and I took a chance and moved up in there, and he responded very well.
What kind of a running machine is he? It appeared like when you said go, he really, this is a real machine.
Well, he's certainly a horse of some quality, Pete. There's no question about it. He's a very good colt, and he's nice and easy to ride, fortunately. If he wasn't so easy to ride, I might have been in a little predicament there down the backside, but he responded very well. Every time I called upon him to do something, whether it was to relax or accelerate, he did it, and I'm just glad to be here.
Thanks for being one more episode on As the World Turns with Chris McCarron and Pete Axtell. Back to you, Chris.
All right, Axel. I'm with, of course, Dick Lundy, the trainer, Madeline and Alan Paulson. I want to first give you the official prices here, and I'm sure Mr. Paulson will like that. I saw his bet across the board on the winner beforehand, and Opening Verse has won this, and they've made it official here. Opening Verse winning the Oaklawn Handicap. And, Dick, let's talk about plans right away. I guess the second week in May is one you're talking about, not the first week in May for the Derby.
Right. He'll go to the Pimlico Special. That'll be his next start.
Alan, congratulations, and I know you're ready to cash.
Right, but it wasn't across the board. It was all on his nose.
All right. Ms. Paulson, congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's take a quick look at prices now as you look at Opening Verse in 147 and 1, $4, $320 and 3. DeRoche, $780, $440. Silver Survivor, the Bud Long Shot, third at $480. The exacta, 2/8 pays $60.60. Here again, the official prices, the Oaklawn Handicap, Opening Verse winning, and let's show you now the complete order of finish following DeRoche and Silver Survivor. We'll take you through the rest of the field with Criminal Type 4th, Primal 5th, No More Hard Time 6th, Festive 7th, and Tourdor finishing in 8th. Well, that completes our stories, the Oaklawn Handicap. Certainly the focus this time of year, we're well aware, is on the 3-year-olds, now just 3 weeks from the Kentucky Derby at Churchill Downs. And it was a big race in Kentucky today that many people thought would have quite an impact on that first Saturday in May. To tell you that story, let's go again to Tom Durkin.
Well, unlike Hot Springs, Arkansas, where the weather is gorgeous this afternoon, it rained today in Lexington, Kentucky, and the track condition for the Bluegrass Stakes was muddy. 2 scratches in the race's Top Snob and Slew of Angels were out. The odds-on favorite was, of course, Summer Squall. He went to the front, stayed there most of the way, actually relinquished the lead to Land Rush, turning for home. In typical Pat Day style, he was still sitting chilly, asked him for run midway down the stretch, gave him one mild whack on the rump, to which the horse responded and went on to a victory. While not an easy victory, it was probably what they were looking for this afternoon to set them up nicely for the Kentucky Derby. And there you see the short prices for Summer Squall in 148 and 3 over the muddy track. Land Rush was second. Unbridled was third, and the exacta returning 14-20. Let's go down to Chris with another Derby prep.
Well, Tom, run yesterday, I don't know if it'd be a Derby prep exactly, but The DeWitt Clinton was run on Friday at Aqueduct, a New York restricted state-bred race, but it was interesting because Champagne for Ashley was entered in that race, an undefeated colt of Howie Tesher. He won it as he should and won it impressively like you'd expect him to by 12.5 lengths. So Champagne for Ashley heads for the wood next week, and that'll be a big test for him there. Now, that prep you mentioned, the Garden State Stakes. We'll give you the results of the conditions of that first, as we'll take a look. The Garden State Stakes, Grade 2, $150,000 guaranteed, a mile and 1/8 for the 3-year-olds. The favorite was Dr. Bobby A., but the winner was the third choice on the morning line, and that was Killer Diller, coming from last to first in the final stages of that race. Killer Diller, ridden by James Bruin, owned by Barry Schwartz, paid $6.40, $3.80, and $3, covering the mile and 1/8. The rather slow 1:52 and 2 on a fast track at Garden State. Maya, the brother, was second. Nasty Charger was third. And nowhere for Dr. Bobby A., the favorite in the race. Pete Axum, your thoughts on the day of racing?
Well, I don't think we saw any threats out of the Garden State for Derby time. Summer Squall is a very good horse. He's been on a tough campaign. His constitution is still in question. Frankly, I would go with Mr. Frisky for my Derby horse. As Laz Barrera was saying out in California the other week, he says, Mr. Frisky slept through the earthquake. Is he going to be bothered by a little summer squall? A good point. Another point, if you have an older horse, give him to Dick Lundy. Wins all the Eclipse Awards. Back to you, Chris.
And if you want an exacta, talk to Pete Axum. But you take a look at Opening Verse on the outsider, carrying the Paulson colors to victory, the red, white, and blue. And chasing him on the inside is DeRoche, the Lob Lolly stable colors. To return that $60.60 exacta. Opening Verse wins the 44th running of the Oaklawn Handicap. Brought to you this afternoon from Hot Springs, Arkansas by Budweiser. Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. By Caesar's Palace, Las Vegas. Relive the legend. By the Carter Stud Farm of California. ESPN is pleased to be the guest of the Avenel Motor Lodge in the heart of Hot Springs. Ground transportation.